Bada bing, bada boom.
It's probably one of the worst relationships in Hollywood history. I mean, who are we to judge? But we're going to judge this relationship because the whole setup of it is very odd. You have Mia Farrow. She's this famous actress. She starred as Rosemary in Rosemary's Baby back in the 60s. She's dating this guy who is also in Hollywood. And in the span of dating for 12 years, they end up making 13 movies together. But it's interesting because there are all these tabloid rumors. Why are they not getting married? How come they never got married? How come they never even lived together? They never even move in together in the span of 12 years? Which power to them if that's not the life that they want. But people are on the side just trying to grasp, how is this relationship working? Especially because Mia Farrow, the actress, she has 6 children of her own. Some of them come from her previous relationship. They're her biological kids. Other children, she's adopted them. But Woody, her boyfriend, filmmaker, is very firm from the get-go. I have no interest in co-parenting. I don't want to co-parent your kids. I don't want to be involved in your kids' lives. I don't want to financially support them. I don't want to emotionally support them. I just don't see myself as a father like that. Maybe he just doesn't like kids. At least in the very beginning, that's what people are thinking. But then they end up having a son together. Ronan Farrow, who's a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist now. Amazing, okay? But they have him, and eventually Woody does end up adopting 2 of Mia Farrow's children. Perhaps he comes around on not wanting to have children, and he becomes slowly more integrated into at least 3 of the kids' lives. A year after Woody adopts 2 of Mia's kids, so they have a son, and then he adopts 2 of her kids, Mia goes over to Woody's apartment one day, because remember, they don't live together, and she finds a stack of pictures. Just graphic pictures. She's saying they wouldn't even put these on Playboy. They're like Hustler magazine pictures. So they're very raunchy, I guess is the word. Just really, really pictures of another woman who is clearly very young, about 21 years old. Woody's in his 50s. And the pictures are very clear. These are not cutouts of a magazine. They're not printed out. They're Polaroids. So Woody probably took these pictures. Woody Allen is cheating on his long-term girlfriend, Mia Farrow, which is already devastating enough, but Mia is doing triple takes on these pictures because it is not just a random girl that he met on set or a random woman that he walked by on the street that developed some sort of chemistry with. This girl in the picture is her own adopted daughter from Korea, Soon-yi.
Wait, this is Mia's kid or?
Mia's adopted daughter that she's had prior to Woody Allen.
Uh-huh.
And now she's seeing her adopted daughter in Woody Allen's apartment with these very graphic photos that are... He is cheating on her with her own daughter.
Is this one of the daughter that he adopted?
No.
Okay. So this is the one that he didn't adopt.
Yes, but it's still her daughter.
Yeah.
This is the case of Woody Allen and Mia Farrow that I could probably do a whole 2-part series separate from this one on. And Woody Allen's adopted daughter, the one that he does in fact adopt from Mia's clan of children, Dylan, goes on to accuse Woody Allen of SA when she was a kid. So with all of this, Mia breaks up with Woody. He and Mia's adopted daughter from Korea, Soon-yi, ends up getting married to Woody Allen. So suddenly this guy who doesn't want to get married is getting married to his ex-girlfriend's daughter. Woody claims Mia convinced their other kid, Dylan, to lie about Woody essaying her to get back at him for cheating on her with her own daughter. But he claims Soon-yi is 21. I mean, it's not like she's a minor, but she would have been 11 when Woody Allen came into her life. When Mia and Woody Allen start dating, Soon-yi would have been 11. You're telling the world that you did not groom this little girl to any degree and then cheat on your own girlfriend with her own daughter, if you can even use the word cheat in this scenario? Woody's explanation in all of this is, I'm not Soon-yi's father. I'm not her stepfather. I've never even lived with Mia. I've never even slept at Mia's apartment. I never even used to go there until my own children came along. I was not a father to her or to any of her adopted kids in any sense of the word. There's no downside of it. The only thing unusual is that she is Mia's daughter, but she is an adopted daughter and a grown woman. I could have met her at a party or something. Woody was 56 and Soon-yi was 21. He's 35 years older, and they're still together to this day. And they're doubling down that nothing is wrong with their relationship. Soon Yi even releases her own statement saying, I admit that it's offbeat, but let's not get hysterical. I'm not an R-word underage flower that was R-worded, molested, and spoiled by some evil stepfather. Not even by a long shot. This is one of the most controversial relationships in Hollywood. It's just very strange and alarming that Woody tries to reason that he absolutely did not groom this little girl because he was never a father figure. Kind of makes it all that more disgusting. You met her when she was 11 and you didn't feel a paternal relationship with her. Then what kind of feelings did you have towards her? The Woody Allen and Mia Farrow situation has its own 4-part documentary, countless articles on what the truth is, what each side is saying, but it's not really something that the normal person thinks about. I might have times when I'm reminded of it and I just sit there and I go, oh my God, that was a crazy situation and the new documentary just came out, but I don't think about it on a day-to-day basis. I mean, you're not supposed to, it's weird, unless you're Jennifer Soto.
What?
She just has this feeling. This gut feeling, biggest fear in the world, that would just pop up into her mind like an intrusive thought. She's a single mom in Florida with a young daughter, and when she finally gets into a serious long-term relationship, she says her biggest fear was being Woody Allen. Jennifer tells her boyfriend Stefan that this is her biggest fear. Please, don't leave me and date my daughter.
What? So she previously mentioned that she has no idea. But now she's saying my biggest fear is you're gonna leave me for my daughter.
Woody Allen me, groom my daughter.
I've always told him that my biggest fear is that this would turn into a Woody Allen situation where the stepdaughter or the dad grooms the child and the child turns 18 and ends up running away with him. I told him like that was my biggest fear and I don't ever want that happening. Like, you can't do that to me. Like,
why would you say that to him?
Because I never trusted. I grew up being told never trust a man. My mom put that in my body, never trust a man.
7 years later, Jennifer will be shown photos of Stefan abusing her daughter, Maddie. And now, Maddie is missing, presumed dead, and Jennifer, at least briefly, stands by her man. This is the case of Madeleine Soto. A few disclaimers for today's case. There's heavy mentions and themes of CSAM, otherwise formerly known as CP, CA, CSA, SA, and potential familial incest. There's quite a few mentions of these themes throughout this entire episode, so please, if it's too much, take a break, get some air, and I'll see you in the next one. Charges have been pressed in this case. Lots of charges, over 60 charges, but unfortunately and legally, there has yet to be a trial, so everyone is innocent until proven guilty in the eyes of the law, I guess, but we are all entitled to our own personal opinions. This is also a 2-part case. If you haven't already watched part 1, please go watch that. I'm going to link that below, but I'm going to try to keep it as thorough as possible. I watched 20 plus hours of interview footage. There's audio interviews, interrogation footage, over 1,000 pages of court documents. This case has just been releasing nonstop paperwork all the time. There has just been no way to condense it down into one. So in part 1, we focused on Maddie going missing, what happened the day that she disappeared, and all of the weird actions of Jennifer Soto, her own mother. Because right when she reports Maddie missing, there's so many weird things. The police are like, where have you looked for Maddie? And she's like, nowhere. I've been at home protecting my mental health. It's just everything about the mother is odd. Then in part 2, this episode, we're going to focus on Stefan Stearns, the boyfriend of Jennifer Soto, and all the conspiracies that are tied to what happened, why. There's allegations of a massive CSAM ring that's operating on Telegram. There's allegations of pregnancy. There's a lot happening. So with that being said, let's get started. There was a trend on TikTok, going through your boyfriend's text messages, going through your boyfriend's DMs. That's child's play. The big account that you want to find and go through is your boyfriend's Reddit account. If a man has a Reddit account, do you really know who the man is if you don't go through his Reddit history? That was the sentiment on TikTok. People are giving tips. This is how you find your partner's Reddit username. What kinds of subreddits to look out for. What kinds of subreddits are Reddit pages undercover that are just misogynistic cesspools of incels jerking each other off. People were posting, be careful though. Actually, don't go through your boyfriend's Reddit, because once you see it, you can never go back. One woman who found her boyfriend's Reddit account says, while we were in the talking and getting to know each other phase, he was using Reddit to hook up with random women. I found comments that he posted on other women's naked photos, requests to join glory hole encounters, and overall just a lot of things that I never imagined he would participate in or be interested in. We've been together for 1.5 years now, and I'm just confused on everything that I've learned. I genuinely don't know this person, and I don't know what to do. Do I let this go because we weren't together at that point, or do I confront him and tell him how upsetting it was to see those posts? What am I supposed to do? Another woman posts asking for advice because her boyfriend is glued to his Reddit. I mean, he likes to keep himself updated. That's what he says. The news, the random popular posts, that's what he likes to see on Reddit. She goes through his Reddit search history. It's just all NSFW, not safe for work. News, random girls that are dancing sensually. And now she doesn't know what to do. So a lot of word of advice from partners is when you open up that Reddit account, just know there is no going back. Whether that be good or bad, you can never unsee it. If you were to go through Sustanet's Reddit account, that's the account name, Sustanet, which is the Latin word for support. You would really have to dig through hundreds, and I know this because I dug through every single post and comment, probably more so thousands of posts and comments to figure out if there is anything alarming.
Wait, is that a Reddit handle or is that a community?
A Reddit handle.
Oh, okay.
One person's Reddit account. That's their handle. And you can go through their history and see all of the different posts that they've made across all the subreddits. So anything they've ever posted, commented, you're going to see it under their account. And you can just go through their history and see their evolution as a developing human being, I guess. And I went through so much. I went through the entire history of Sustanet's Reddit. 98% of his Reddit posts are on board game subreddits, or r/Disney, r/Tamagotchi. You know what Tamagotchi is? It's like the little keychains, and they have a pet that you take care of. Sometimes it's black and white, sometimes it's color, but it's just a keychain.
The digital pet.
Yes, a digital pet, and you feed it, and then it could die, and then you have to rebirth it, I guess.
Those are still around?
He collects vintage ones.
Oh.
He actually spends quite a bit of money. I was trying to figure out the prices because he'll post rare Tamagotchi that he purchases. And I was like, okay, well, now I need to know how much this is. I'm going through the Tamagotchi rabbit hole. Hundreds of dollars for just a keychain with a pet in there. Some of them...
Is he feeding them?
He's feeding them. He's buying supplemental stuff. He will walk around with them on his belt. Just keychains to his body.
Wow.
I mean, it's a niche hobby. I respect it. The hobby itself, of course. Now, 98% of his posts are about Tamagotchi. It's the other 2% of his posts that are interesting. If you were to be dating Sustanet, you would want to go through that 2%. He likes to comment answers to people's Reddit, like ask Reddit questions. If you were a serial killer, who would be your victim? Sustanet comments. People who drive down the shoulder of the road during traffic jams. People who refuse to let others merge into their lane. People who go through the express lane at a grocery store with many more items than the limits suggest. Basically the most selfish and careless people in society. Okay, kind of quirky, I guess. Is a thumb a finger? If so, why do you think that is? Sustanet responds, all thumbs are fingers, but not all fingers are thumbs. Not false. I mean, relatively true. I don't know how pertinent information this is to carry on with life, but continues. What instantly ruins the vibe at any social gathering? Sustanet says, the guy with all the conspiracy theories that insists on talking to you about it and trying to convert you into believing them too. Which, I mean, I think that's kind of a fun dude, but to each their own. If he's not crafting up these responses to questions, he'll try to whip out some of these one-liners that are not the most original, but they all kind of have a certain vibe to them. He writes, funny enough, common sense isn't really common at all. Then he'll go back to answering questions. What should be off limits in comedy? Nothing. What can you not do that everyone else seems to be able to do? Adult. Men of Reddit, what goes through your mind when a woman starts unzipping her pants? Ma'am, I don't know you, and we're in a bus station. I mean, this digital footprint is never ending. How do you love yourself? Usually with my left hand. Okay, so things are getting a little more personal. You know, you keep scrolling. You keep scrolling looking for anything that's going to tell you something more about this poster. And here it is. Sustanet is talking about his past relationship and being cheated on. You know, I had my suspicions for a long time. I drove to her house after she did that sleepy goodnight call and she wasn't there. This was weeks after months of shady behavior, deleted conversations, unsaved numbers, calling late at night, and her turning over in bed as she would answer a text so that I couldn't see who it was. Basically, all the red flags. When I finally caught her in the lie, we sat down, she confessed, and we broke up. She then worked very hard to win me back, begging my parents to talk to me. And then when I took her back, she cheated again and even laughed about it. I'm well enough endowed. You know, length and girth are pretty perfectly proportioned. Good looking by most standards. Knew my way around a woman's body very well, but it didn't matter. It wasn't an issue of me not satisfying her. She was unfortunately bipolar and unmedicated. So one of her symptoms while manic was hypersexuality, which basically meant that anytime she met a guy that was even slightly intrigued by her, she would end up screwing them, and this destroyed my self-confidence. This is almost 10 years ago, and my confidence has never recovered. I became depressed. I have trust issues. I swore off dating for almost 6 years straight, while I just stewed in a broth of self-pity and depression. It's not a good look, and I regret those years of my prime. I wasted on people that just weren't worth it. My now girlfriend is thankfully one of my closest friends, and we are supportive of each other and trust each other. We've been happy for almost 2 years now.
When was this posted?
This was while he was dating Jennifer Soto.
Okay.
Recently, maybe like a few years ago. His Reddit posts, majority of them are 2 to 4 years ago.
Okay.
Now it's getting much more specific and much more personal. I kept scrolling. Having a nice package doesn't mean necessarily having the biggest one. It's about this is what Sustanet is writing. It's having one that is either or both proportionately ideal and also aesthetically pleasing to look at. I don't have the biggest one in the world, but I have always received compliments and it never fails to make me feel good about myself. And then another, he's just posting on Digimon Pets, and he's posting how he bought these new 3 Digimons, which are like Tamagotchis. He says that he got one for himself, and the purple one is for his stepdaughter. In fact, he posts a lot about his stepdaughter and how she's interested in the same things that he's interested in, like Tamagotchi, painting figurines for Warhammer.
What's a Warhammer? Is that a...
It's like another role-play tabletop game.
Okay.
He'll write things like, my 12-year-old stepdaughter is maybe the world's sorest loser in the world and will typically break down in tears and fits when she is soundly defeated in most games. But not in Lorcana. I am proud to say that she is really giving me a run for my money and running some neck-and-neck games. But usually when you're scrolling through someone's Reddit history, you're not looking for how well he gets along with his family members. You're looking for red flags, and you find them. On a thread, someone writes, what is the hardest part of dating after 30? Sustanet responds, finding people to date that haven't spent all their teens and 20s in the sun with minimal sun protection, making them all look like a 70-year-old Clint Eastwood, plus all the emotional baggage and kids from first marriages or absent fathers. Honestly, dating in or after your 30s is a these days. One begins to understand the DiCaprio strategy. The alarm bells start going off. I mean, the aggression starts to come out. In other threads, he's responding to people who need life advice because, for example, poster, friend A said that friend B came to pick him up to hang out, and friend B drove up in a stolen car, thus making friend A somewhat legally culpable in this crime of stealing a car. Sustanet responds, your friend will end up in prison, and they will see who the he is when they are being used like one.
What?
It's just kind of getting bleak. In fact, he starts writing about humanity and he has all these thoughts about society. He says, I work at a major theme park in a safety critical role, because he worked at Disney, and get to observe human nature all day long to the tunes of thousands, I mean, literally thousands of people a day. And let me tell you, the outlook for the future of humanity is not good. Some folks are just feral that are incapable of self-governing. If there isn't a reward for doing it or a punishment for not doing it, they just couldn't give less of a anything. Humanity at this point is just 80% vacant-minded zombies that half-ass their way through life without ever bothering to think critically, read a sign, listen to instructions, or follow any sort of example that is already set for them. Just complete waste of oxygen, really. Oh, he does this weird thing where he goes on r/advice for teens. And he will give advice for teenagers that ask for advice. I mean, I guess the whole theory of the subreddit is that adults will come and give teenagers advice from their life experience of having gone through that phase and all the lessons that they've accrued from it. Mm-hmm. But he does frequent it quite a lot. And I mean, most of the advice that he gives is not unsound. It makes sense. So it's not that alarming. But he does respond angrily to some other posts. Like, for example, there is a life pro tips subreddit, and the original post reads, "Never force your kids to get a hug or a kiss from someone. Grandparents are even included. It will ruin their sense of bodily autonomy. They should know that it's their choice if people can touch them or not." Sustanet responds, "Grandma is going to die soon. Just give her a hug because she loves you. Kids should have autonomy, yes, but also parents should understand when their kid is just being shy or squeamish or even just being a little head and encourage them to get over it and reciprocate. Part of growing up is sometimes doing things that you don't want to do because it's the correct thing to do." Looking back now, I wish I treated my grandmother better when I could have. Kids don't understand these things though. They just think old people are gross. He responds to people who are arguing with his logic, writing, "I never suggested that kids should be forced to accept physical affection every time or have no choice in that matter. But the parents need to exercise their judgment as the adult as to whether or not it's justified or they're just being silly." To which someone comes back to this thread years later, and in 2025, they comment, "And was it justified for you to kill a 13-year-old? Because Sustanet is Stefan Stearns, Jennifer Soto's 38-year-old boyfriend. And he has now just arrived at the police station and is escorted into the interrogation room, where he will be seated and waiting for 3.5 hours for the detectives to finally come in and question him. Listen, there is no law that they have to question him immediately upon arrival. There's no good service at a police station. You don't get to do a little review. "They made me wait 3 hours before coming to my attention." He sits there for 3.5 hours. And you would think, oh, it's because the police are not efficient. They don't have their shit together. No, detectives do this all on purpose. Psychological pressure, the isolation, this tiny room, unfamiliar circumstances, stressful situations, you know that you're likely being watched. And you are being watched. You have to rethink every answer that you want to respond to the police with, which you would imagine is potentially a good thing. It's not. The more isolated, the more alone you are, the more stressed you are, the more you are crafting these responses to questions that just don't make sense. That far-fetched response that you thought of, maybe in an appropriate setting, you think, okay, no one's going to believe that because that is absolutely ridiculous. In this setting, you might think, okay, that's what I'm going to say. Yeah. No, that's the only thing that makes sense. Maybe I'll just bring that lie out right now. Tiring out the suspects is also important, creating mental fatigue. The officers, they're in the back downing their coffees. They're watching you. They're having a little chit-chat. They're giggle-gaggling. And you are left with nothing but your own thoughts getting exhausted. Because you're sitting there questioning, what do I know that the police don't know, that I can't let them know? But also, what do the police already know? Here's what the police already know in this case. Madeleine Soto goes missing after her 13th birthday party celebration. So her birthday party celebration was on Sunday. Monday morning, she goes missing. The last person to see her alive was Stefan Stearns. The story that both Jennifer Soto and Stefan Stearns has told is that Sunday night, Jennifer Soto gets home from work at Disney. Stefan is getting Madeleine ready for bed. Jennifer Soto forgot to take her medicine the day before, so she's been a little bit wonky, and she tells the two of them, "Why don't you both go upstairs and sleep in the guest room together so that I can get a good night's rest by myself?" Because normally the three of them sleep in the same bed, and it's always Jennifer Soto, 13-year-old Madeleine, and then Stefan Stearns. That's the setup of their sleeping arrangements. So she says, "Why don't you two go upstairs to the guest room, sleep just you two, and I'm going to sleep downstairs." The next morning, she asks Stefan to take Madeleine to school, and he agrees. He says, "Actually, we're going to leave early, and I'm not even just going to take her to school. I'm going to take her to McDonald's." They leave an hour early, but they don't stop by McDonald's. In fact, he drops off Madeleine an hour early across the street from the school because Madeleine states that she's embarrassed of his car, but it's weird. Nobody really believes that story. And then his car is seen driving all over town with Madeleine in the car. The police are saying the story isn't making any sense. There's so many discrepancies. First of all, when Jennifer Soto takes her first police report, she says that she saw Madeleine getting ready for school Monday morning. But now she's saying, actually, the last time I saw her was Sunday night. I take backsies. I did not see her Monday morning. But the CCTV cameras show Stefan Stearns driving around with Madeleine in the passenger seat of his car all over town, nowhere near the school, does not drop her off near school, and then she just vanishes off of the face of the earth. What's going on? And what's even more intriguing is that from 7 in the morning to 9 in the morning, the 2 hours that he's seen driving around with Madeleine Soto, she is in the same exact position in the passenger seat, in a very odd, leaned back, reclined on the chair, looking asleep. That's what Stefan says. She is asleep. He stops by the community dumpster to drop something off, which the police go through that dumpster and they find Madeleine's backpack and one of her white Crocs shoes, which, why would that be? Because you said that you're dropping her off at school. Why would you throw away her backpack? Here's what the police believe happened. That Stefan Stearns killed Madeleine Soto sometime Sunday night, moved her body to the car on Monday morning and drove around with her. Obviously did not drop her off at school. And then eventually, after driving around with her for 2 hours, he pulls into a parking lot, and according to police reports, they have seen footage of him moving Madeleine's limp body from the passenger seat into the trunk. Then he goes back home with Madeleine's body in his trunk, has an hour to spend with Jennifer Soto, Madeleine's mother, leaves the home again to go place her body elsewhere. It appears he's heading somewhere to, I guess, quote unquote, dispose of her body. To get rid of her body, he is heading somewhere, but he gets a flat tire. And he tries to keep driving on that flat tire until it's literally just nuts and bolts left. And then eventually, he can no longer drive. He places Madeleine's body somewhere, wherever he was, and then changes his tire, goes back home. That's what the police suspect. They just don't know where yet.
Wow. So all of that is caught on CCTV. Right now, they just need to find the body.
Yes. And I mean, once they go through his phone, they find clear CSAM evidence of him essaying Madeleine, likely since she was 8 years old. And so now there's all these questions of how much does Jennifer Soto, Maddie's own mother, know about all of this? What was Stefan doing the night that Maddie went missing? Monday night, while the police are searching for Maddie, while Jennifer Soto is at home because she wants to protect her mental health, Stefan goes out in the middle of the night to look for Maddie. Police are probably wondering, did he go back to Madeleine's body at that point? What was he doing that night? And then 2 days later, while Jennifer and Stefan are staying at a hotel because they get kicked out of their house, the police are securing it as a crime scene, Stefan is seen sneaking out again at night, taking Jennifer's car to go, quote, searching for Madeleine. Again, where is that? Does that have anything to do with where he might have hidden Maddie? And in the interrogation room and throughout the entirety of all of his audio interviews, I will say the way that he just talks about Madeleine is very infuriating.
She brings a lot of joy. She's a very good girl. It definitely doesn't feel the same around here if she's not here. She was so happy too. She was looking forward to my visit here. She was looking forward to us all being together. She was just happy. She was just very happy.
This is the guy that Madeleine told her counselor she felt very uncomfortable around. She did not like this man. He lies on how he was going to go through Monday morning after dropping Maddie off, and it doesn't make sense, to which detectives even ask him, I mean, do you have problems with your memory that you can't recall? Because you say that after dropping Maddie off, you went to the vape shop and waited for them to open. That would have been around 9:20, but then now you say you only waited a few minutes and then you left, and by the time you left, it was after 10 o'clock. So was it a few minutes or was it 40 minutes? What's going on?
I'm extremely ADHD. I'm sorry. So just details start to get fuzzy after a while. Even the times I'm giving you are my best guesstimates here. I didn't have my phone with me at the time, so I wasn't aware of exactly what time.
There's no time on your car?
Transpiring. There probably is, but it's not my car. It's my parents' car. I'm not a morning person. I'm very time blind on the best of days and forgetful. I understand that none of that is helpful in this case.
Even when asked where he went to look for Maddie the night that she went missing, he says,
I don't recall. Maybe after? I can't. I'm so sorry. I was medicated. I've been medicated all week. My memory is just not as reliable as I would like it to be right now. I was in a fog and half asleep that morning as it was.
Even when he gets times wrong, he'll just say, sorry, I'm just not a morning person. I'm not a morning person. He's also asked to pull up his sleeves at one point so the officers can see his scars from changing his tire. And he says,
do you mind taking your sweater off?
It's cold, but yeah.
it's cold, but sure, it's weird. So these are all from the audio interviews. And it's not until about 48 hours after Madeleine goes missing that he gets brought into the police station. And he just mopes around for 3.5 hours. He does appear very stressed, so that's good. But when officers come in, he tries to play it off like he just woke up from this slumber. He's got his arms crossed. He looks very, very cold. And the impression he gives me is someone desperately trying so hard to seem sleepy and harmless. Like he just woke up from a nap and he's just getting his thoughts together. It's a bizarre combination. He's able to sit there straight-faced and tell officers, he runs them through Monday again and Sunday night, and he tells officers, Jennifer sent me and Maddie upstairs to go sleep, so we had snuggle cuddle time.
Some snuggle cuddle time.
The officer asks, you say snuggle time. What does that mean? Maddie doesn't like to be alone. She's extremely dependent. She does not like to be alone at all. She needs human presence around her. Gotcha. So how's your relationship with Maddie? Great. I am one of her favorite people in the world. And, we're just trying to, we've been trying to wean her off of that. Being so dependent. But it's been difficult. Both the officers, there's 2 male officers in there. They look like they want to place their knuckles on the side of his face.
Really?
Yeah, they look, the way they even say gotcha is like, gotcha. You are so ridiculous.
She needs human presence around her.
Gotcha.
So right now they already got the footage and
Yeah,
from his phone. They saw the CCTV.
everything.
And the guy is still trying to play it off.
That he's Maddie's favorite person in the entire world and she needs snuggle cuddle time. And even if that's the case, you should not be giving her snuggle cuddle time. That's weird. The police ask him to walk them through what happened Monday morning. He just yawns.
So she needs to brush her hair, brush her teeth. Excuse me.
I don't know if that's him trying to appear so innocent that he's not stressed or worried, just casually responding to questions, or so chill because he did nothing wrong, or if he's buying time, or if it's a weird stress response. It's just kind of wild. So he runs them through his lies of Monday morning, and they keep trying to confront him. That's not the truth. But nevertheless, they're not bogging down on this one because at this point, they're not worried about Monday. They're worried about where is Maddie. How old are you, by the way? I'm 37, about to turn 38. I mean, you seem like a genuinely nice person, Stefan. I try. Jennifer talks very highly of you. Stefan is nodding, just bopping his head like, yeah, I mean, of course, because I am. They ask him, okay, so you're saying Monday, you're driving towards the school. So how is it that on CCTV cameras, we see you driving back towards the house? That's right. I forgot my gate clicker. I left with Maddie and the school is about 20 minutes away. We're almost at the school and I realize that I forget my gate clicker. I U-turn it back to go grab it because we had, quote, plenty of time to kill. So this is so strange. Imagine you leave your apartment and you need the gate clicker to get back into your apartment. Mm-hmm. You forget it and you're about to drop your kid off, not even your kid, your girlfriend's kid off at her school. You're almost at the school. Would you not just drop her off and then go home, talk to the security person and say, hey, I forgot my gate clicker? He thinks, no. The best option is to U-turn, drive all the way back without dropping Madeleine off, go to the security guy and say, hey, I forgot my gate clicker, and then go get the gate clicker and then drive all the way back to the school again. The police are asking, could you not have just gotten your gate clicker after you dropped her off? I could have, but I also like to come back in through the back gate sometimes, and sometimes they're busy up front, so it was better to avoid the line. I don't know if it makes more sense. It's just what I did. And they also confront him. Okay, well, there is footage of you talking to security while Madeleine is sitting in the front, reclined, and you say she's asleep. We don't believe that, but then you go to the dumpster and you throw something away. We went through that dumpster and we found her backpack in the trash. Why is her backpack in the trash if you're dropping her off at school? He doesn't respond. He just keeps blinking and he's staring at them like he's confused by what they're saying. Like, what do you mean you found a backpack? There's no way there's a backpack. And they tell him, Stefan, I'm telling you, what I'm pleading with you is that you do some soul searching. The more time that goes on, the more that this gets tough. That little girl is out there and we need to know. I really think that you can help us and I'm pleading with you. I dropped her off. That's the last time I saw her.
What do you think was on the phone?
Text messages, emails, stuff.
Pictures?
Yeah.
What kind of pictures were on there?
Training card pictures, lightsaber pictures, Disney pictures.
Do you have a Google account?
Yeah.
Do you save pictures to your Google account?
Sometimes.
Or is it automatically? I know sometimes phones sync to a cloud and...
Yeah, I think it backs up to Google.
Mm-hmm. And then sometimes when you reset your phone and your phone updates and puts these apps back on your phone, sometimes they will put the images back on your phone.
Not sure.
Do you have
I assume so. Probably. I mean, went to Disney, took selfies on the train. She got back from Puerto Rico and had her hair braided. We got pictures of that.
Here's where I'm going to be brutally honest with you. There's your phone. And I'm pretty sure you know what some of those pictures are about. You're a very intelligent person. I don't want you to discredit yourself by saying you don't know about all the pictures that are on your phone. You understand what I'm saying?
Stefan looks taken aback. And he feels like the police, the way he responds is like the police are trying to do him dirty.
Should I be talking with a lawyer right now?
I can't answer that question. My sole purpose right now is trying to find Maddie, and I'm trying to see if you can help us. Well, I would really like to help, but I feel like I should probably have a lawyer present at this point.
So he's now finally realized he can't play any longer.
No. Well, we can make that happen. I just want to let you know that you're not free to leave and you are being detained. If you are told this and you're innocent, what do you say? What does an innocent person say?
Like, under what reasons, right?
Yeah. Every interrogation clip where they're so guilty,
Yeah.
they never ask what they're being detained for.
Yeah.
You're being detained, okay? Do you want to know what you're being detained for? Capital battery and possession of child.
And with that, the interrogation is over after he requests an attorney. I mean, there's no denial, nothing, just okay. And it's so fascinating. So the best part after this entire interrogation is that they have to take pictures of all of Stefan's body parts. And because of the CSAM, they have to find this very distinctive freckle on his private parts. Because a lot of the pictures are of Madeleine and then his private part. So they need to be able to identify that it is his private part in those pictures. 2 female officers come in and they start manhandling this man, taking pictures of him, forcing him to turn, take off articles of clothing, taking pictures of his private parts. And I don't think that they get paid enough for that job, but I also love the way that they're doing it. He is insanely uncomfortable. And of course, this is probably a fraction of what Maddie has felt, but still it's something.
How do you know? Like, what was exactly, is it described? Is it...
What do you mean?
The 2 officer...
No, I saw it.
What do you mean you saw it?
They tried to censor his private parts. Sometimes the censor is not censoring as well as it should, but they do censor it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and you just see these 2 female officers just going in, manhandling him, and I love them for it. And he's so uncomfortable, but they're incredibly thorough at their jobs that they're not like, oh, you're uncomfortable, you're chilly, okay, maybe we can stop after 1 or 2 pictures. They're like, no, reach under here, pull this back, do this. Yeah, they even tell him, hey, don't try to do anything squirrely because you're going to eat the carpet. Like, we're going to body slam you down if you try to do anything right now.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah. But he still finds the narcissism in the depths of his black soul, where in this situation, he asks if they can switch the handcuffs to the front instead of in the back because it hurts and it's making him claustrophobic. The female officer just tells him they're not made for comfort. Like, what do you want me to do? They're not made for comfort. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to be accommodating right now. But this interrogation, still to this point, does not help. They need to find Maddie. If Stefan doesn't want to help them, maybe Jennifer, Maddie's mother, does. If you watch part 1, it is very evident that Jennifer does not care to help. In fact, it seems like she is more upset about Stefan being arrested and even cheating on her. Cheating, and I say that very loosely because it's essay, than her daughter being missing. I mean, maybe her shock is presenting itself differently, but it's so strange. It's like Stefan is her entire world. Even the same conversation where she finds out about the CSAM, finds out that Stefan is abusing her daughter, she asks,
Is he being placed under arrest because of those pictures?
Yeah, we haven't made that determination yet, but
Press charges since she's a juvenile.
No idea. I didn't think it was in my power. I thought you guys just automatically did it.
What do you think should happen to him for these pictures?
It's crazy. Like, I saw the pictures, but I'm still in denial because, like, there's a penis there.
Mm-hmm.
But is he visual? Does he show up in any of the pictures? Is there? I mean, I don't know who.
I haven't seen all of the pictures, so I can't answer that.
Okay, because I can't.
Whether it's his penis or not, are you comfortable with him having content of someone else's penis on his phone?
AKA, are you still comfortable with him having pictures of someone essaying your daughter, even if it's not him in the picture?
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Absolutely not. No. So what do you think should happen to Stefan?
I'm afraid to say press charges, but what else? There's a side of me that wants to say he's innocent, that this doesn't happen, but who else's penis could that be? She's not left alone with anyone else. Can I make one decision now and change my mind later?
I just don't know a singular parent that would not only want to press charges immediately, but would want to go into that jail cell themselves and do something about this. Throughout the entirety of the investigation, on top of all of that, she has never not once said anything nice about Maddie. I think that she might have mentioned that Maddie was kind of artistic at one point, but that's it. At least from all the released audio and video interviews, as well as police incident reports, she somehow cannot say anything kind about her own daughter, which she finds it in herself to say neutral to relatively nice things about Stefan, the guy that essayed her daughter for years, made even more infuriating by the fact that Stefan is a person. Even his parents have stated before all of this, Stefan is crazy. He's a manipulator. He's a gaslighter. Stefan's grandpa on his mom's side passed away. Mm-hmm. And he left this heirloom Rolex for his daughter, Stefan's mom. Stefan proceeded to steal that Rolex from his own mother.
How did you find out about that?
Stefan's mom said it. Stefan's mom was like, he stole the Rolex. And yet, Jennifer can say nice things about him, even defending him. Meanwhile, Maddie, who has done nothing but be victimized under Jennifer's care, is forgetful. Yeah, like any other human in the world. When it comes to Maddie, she mentions she leaves laundry on the floor. Her room's a mess. She keeps her personal space very disorganized. If she gets in trouble for anything, it's always her disorganization and her messiness. She's always behind on schoolwork. She has ADHD. She's forgetful. She'll set something down and completely forget where she said it. She sleeps like a monkey. That's what she says, even after Stefan's arrest. The detectives ask her, what is Stefan's relationship with Maddie? She says, I was going to say really good, super great. He's always been super kind and sweet to her, very accepting, warm, and understanding of her because she's got ADHD. So she's kind of a little, I'll say abnormal, in the sense that she doesn't act like every other kid. You have to have patience and extra understanding for her. And he does that really well. This is after she finds out what he did. I think a loving mother would have said pretty much everything else. Maddie's stepdad says she's brilliant. She's very smart. Her favorite colors were green and purple, lavender to be exact, which is both parts vibrant and calm. I mean, people said that there's this sereneness to Maddie.
Who's Maddie's stepfather?
So she has a biological father and a stepfather that is now since divorced from Jennifer. And she seems closer with her stepfather than she was her biological father. They both don't live nearby. And then now she's got Stefan, who has never been her stepfather. Like, they never got married. She recently won Student of the Week. There was this door painting contest at the school, and Maddie's quite creative. She would just get locked in and could spend hours creating things with her hands. She's a Swiftie. She loved making those beaded bracelets or drawing, and apparently she was really good at drawing. And one of the places that you're going to see her get so intense, everybody said, is when she's playing volleyball. She's so good at volleyball, but that's when her competitiveness finally comes out. But usually she just gets along with everybody. Her biological dad says, if you ever made a snarky comment, Maddie would correct him, saying, everyone's beautiful in their own way. At the vigil, Maddie's stepmother says, you were and still are the light of my life. So this is her biological dad's new wife. You were and still are the light of my life. I'm so blessed to have known such a sweet soul. You will be remembered as a young girl running through pumpkin patches, learning to fish, feeding baby goats, and jumping in the corn. It's hard to imagine that you're gone now. Another who helped with the vigil said, we want her to know that as a community that she does matter to us. Whether you knew her or not, whether you live right here in Florida or you live in Australia, she matters to so many people. But instead, Maddie's mom wants to talk about how messy she is, how forgetful she is, and how she never does things on time. March 1st, a few days after Maddie goes missing, police have Jennifer Soto in the police station being interviewed. So this is from part 1, the main interrogation. They have not found Maddie's body. They found all the CCM. Stefan has been arrested. She knows about the abuse, and she's being questioned. The police are telling her, like, we just want to find your daughter's body because we don't think that she's alive, and you don't seem to want to find her, period. While that is happening, they are doing a press conference, asking anyone who has seen anything to come forward, please. If you see anything of interest, call us. And a tip comes in. A man named Thomas calls into the police station. He calls in the tip. I think I saw that same exact car, that silver car that you guys released, that Monday that Maddie went missing. He's explaining everything. Do you have the license plate number, sir? No, but I could lead you to where I saw the car because I'm not just remembering everybody's license plates. Well, do you have the exact address of where you might have seen this silver vehicle on Monday? No, but again, I can tell you pretty much exactly where it is. Like, I don't know if it has an address. It was in just the side of the road. Okay, well, thank you. I just think that that's a little bit too vague. The officer hangs up on him. Thomas is so confused. He's like, what do you mean it's too vague? You just told everybody to call if you saw something. So he gets into his car, drives back to where he could have sworn he saw that silver Lincoln that day, starts taking pictures. Look, it's not the exact address, but here you go. Here's the area. Here's the location that I saw the car. He was changing his tire. I saw a guy change his tire in the car that you're telling me to look out for.
So who's Thomas?
Just a random citizen.
Okay.
And he's like, hello, why is nobody listening to me? The spare tire was on the same exact side of the car that the press conference was telling us about. Thomas remembers what he saw. He was driving down the two-way road. One lane going north, one lane going south. There's not really much out there. It's just fields. It's fields and it's nearby Alligator Lake that we talked about in part 1 where all the alligators are. And then he sees this silver Lincoln pulled over to the side of the road. There is a man standing there near the driver's side with a backwards hat. He sees that up ahead, Thomas is driving towards the car that's pulled over on the side. And as he's passing, he sees that the man has something in his hand. Looks like a tire iron because he probably has a flat. He's changing his tire. Thomas is getting closer and closer, and he's going to slow down so he can pass the man safely. By this point, the man is leaned down next to his tire, and as Thomas's car passes, he looks up, and the two of them make direct eye contact. Thomas did not forget that face. He believes that face is Stefan Stern's. Thomas calls again. He's like, I'm going to call again till the authorities try to listen to me because, hello, I saw what I saw. When I was younger, investing to me looked like men in suits screaming into those dial-up phones on Wall Street as the green and red stocks fluctuate in the background. The best financial advice I ever got was long-term stable investing should be nothing like that. Instead, just simply use Acorns. Acorns is the financial wellness app that makes it easy to start saving and investing in your future. You don't need to be a suit on Wall Street. You don't need to be rich. Acorns lets you get started with the spare money you've got right now, even if all you've got is spare change. Sign up now and join the over 13 million all-time customers who have already saved and invested over $22 billion with Acorns. Head to acorns.com/rotten or download the Acorns app to get started. Paid client endorsement. Compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Tier 3 compensation provided. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advisors LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/rotten. This time, they do take his tip seriously, and an hour later, March 1st, 2024, Maddie's body is found in farmland on a big plot of land near where he said he saw the car.
Like just in the bushes?
Yes, near a line of bamboo trees. She was wearing a green hoodie, blue jeans, and she was left lying in a fetal position. It is most people's beliefs that he was trying to drive to Alligator Lake to dispose of her in the lake. He got a flat tire, drove as far as he could on that flat tire, but eventually he had to pull over, and he couldn't get a spare tire with Maddie in the trunk. So he placed her body near the bamboo trees, fixed his tire, drove home. Maddie's cause of death is strangulation. Do you know what derivative immunity is? There's been a lot of outrage online that Jennifer Soto has received immunity for this case, but that is not true. She's received derivative use immunity, which means for this interview that she had in April. So the main interrogation was done March 1st, the day of the press conference, the day that Maddie's body is found. They questioned her again April 18th of 2024, and whatever she says in that interview, no evidence that is taken directly from her testimony can be used against her. But she does not receive immunity in this case. She can still be prosecuted based off of independent evidence that is found against her. Okay, so let me try to create a scenario. John is caught. And he was doing a minor powder transaction. He was purchasing powder from a good buddy of his. But he gets arrested. He's talking to the police and he says, I actually have information on a bigger powder operation. Not a transaction, a whole operation. I can lead you to the big guys upstairs. But he's very scared because once I tell you about it, I'm incriminating myself. The authorities will then give him derivative use immunity. That means his testimony cannot be used directly against him in the future prosecution because you can't incriminate yourself. So let's say John tells him about the warehouse where they're storing the powder. Authorities go, they raid the warehouse, find the drugs. They cannot go and say, you knew about it, so we're arresting you. Unless John's other buddy, Kevin, comes along and Kevin says, hey guys, look at this picture I have of John in a lab coat cooking up in that facility. Then he can be prosecuted for the drug charges, just not through his own evidence. The police have to show that they obtained evidence against John through a completely independent source that is not John himself.
Yeah. But don't they usually do that to get some, lenience on their previous crime, right?
Yes. So that could work as well. But in this situation, I mean, they just want Jennifer to feel safe enough to say something.
Right. Because she's not being charged
as of
yet.
right now, yes.
Yeah, okay.
As of right now. We don't know if she will be. The detectives describe it to Jennifer as, quote, I also explained derivative use immunity, which means if you said there was a gun, and obviously there's no gun in this case, but you say there's a gun buried in your attorney's yard, we cannot go dig up that gun, even if you told us that. Yeah, the gun is used. It was right there in his yard. We cannot go dig it up. We wouldn't be able to do that. We would have to show that we learned all those things independent from this interview. Now they could go around asking, hey, does anybody know where the gun is?
What? Okay.
So there's one pertinent part of this interview. I mean, a lot of this interview is just repeats of what she said happened on Monday, or at least one variation of it because all these people keep changing their stories. But there is this odd part where the officer asks her what Maddie would have eaten on her birthday party the night that she went missing. Jennifer lists off a Puerto Rican dish, and the officer says she's going to have to spell it out for him because he's, he can't really pronounce that. And she laughs like a little too hard. It's just weird. It's weird. She's like, ha 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 ha. But the main thing to come out of this interview is she states that there was one morning where Maddie just could not wake up. Jennifer assumed it was her medication problem because she's on sleeping pills, that maybe they gave her too many meds too late at night, so she was still groggy in the morning. But she later realized that it was because she and Stefan weren't communicating well, and she assumes that she had given Maddie her nighttime meds, and then Stefan gave her nighttime meds. He claims he didn't know, but they effectively double dosed her with sleeping pills. Now, mind you, in a lot of the CCM videos and pictures, Maddie was asleep. So it feels like perhaps Stefan was drugging her. The officer also hints at the fact that there's a conversation on Jennifer's phone about Maddie suspecting that Stefan had given her THC pills. But Jennifer claims, I don't remember that, and the topic moves on. Now, I assume we're going to hear more from that later on. I don't know. But a few other things from this interview include Jennifer had apparently told an officer early in the investigation that the sleeping arrangements with herself, Stefan, and Maddie were so strange because Jennifer's sister was staying with them. So she's like, oh, well, we all had to sleep together because Jennifer's sister was here. But turned out not to be true. Jennifer admits that that was not true in this interview. The conversation of her weird text message comes up near the end of this interview. Maddie had plans to go see her biological father in Texas prior to all of this. Jennifer texts him, the biological father, I hope nobody touches Maddie or films her under the bathroom. Which is an oddly specific thing to say. At first, Jennifer is like, I don't remember that. I don't remember that. But later she says, oh, I remember that text message. I think this was around the time, this is her saying this, I think this was around the time that an airline employee had taped his phone to the restroom to watch a child use the restroom so that they could secretly film it, but the child discovered it. Like, that's that. She's saying, like, that was that. Another quick question. Police want to know if Maddie is embarrassed of Stefan's car. If that's the case, why didn't Stefan just take her to school in Jennifer's car so that he could drop her off at the school, like at the front gate of the school? Now, side note, it's pretty clear that Maddie, she's deceased. At this point, they found her body. Stefan had no plans of dropping her off, but they're asking Jennifer why you didn't question that as a mother.
Okay, so back to what you just said about her text to the ex-husband,
Yes.
right? One suspicion would be she found out about what Stefan did.
Yes.
And this is her just listing it out because she was upset.
Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, Stefan was filming the roommate under the door.
Yes. And that will make her, she no longer is innocent.
Exactly, because she invites him back into the house.
Yeah.
We don't know how, maybe she just saw he was secretly filming Maddie. Allegedly, this is our speculation theory, of course. And then still, why let him back into the house? Mm-hmm. Jennifer says she didn't question it because Stefan is not insured on her car.
You did let him drive your car after this occurred, though, right?
Yes, but he was very insistent because he wanted to go look for Maddie, and he had a spare on his car because he had a flat, so he couldn't drive his car. So he just really wanted to go out.
But what about this text message? June 16th, 2023.
You texted Stefan this. Maddie's no longer sleeping with me. I can't risk it. What does that mean?
No idea.
The most innocent reasoning would be, and it's not even that innocent, but the best case scenario would be that Jennifer was referring to not getting enough sleep because Maddie is a rough sleeper. But that means that was in 2023. If she said that Maddie is no longer sleeping with me, I can't risk it, she was claiming to the police up and down, Maddie always sleeps with me. Usually she doesn't sleep with Stefan. Stefan doesn't sleep with us. It's always me and Maddie. She never sleeps alone. So if she's not sleeping alone and she's not sleeping with you, who is she sleeping with? That's the most innocent variation of what that text could mean, but most netizens feel like this cryptic text means something else. There are speculations that Jennifer knew about the abuse, and even when the three of them shared the bed, he was theorized, this is a theory, that he was allegedly taking pictures of Maddie and essaying her in the same bed. Can't risk it. Netizens either think that she's referring to, I can't risk Maddie waking up in the middle of the night and knowing that I'm also here. Or I can't risk it, aka you're creating CSAM and my sheets and pillows are all in the background. That's what netizens theorize. Stefan has been arrested for CSAM, child essay abuse, as well as first-degree murder charges. And now the question is, with all of this, even this derivative use immunity interview, people feel like Jennifer is even more sketchy. This did not make her less sketchy in even the slightest amount. The main arguments against Jennifer, other than the ones that we've already covered in part 1, is that the very first initial response from the police, there's body cam footage, they come to talk to Jennifer about her missing child Monday night. Jennifer's trying to show them a picture of Maddie, and she's got to scroll through her phone quite a bit. A lot of netizens and parents think this is so strange. They say, if your child is not already your phone background, you've got pictures of them everywhere in your phone. I don't even have children. I have pictures of my nieces everywhere in my phone. It doesn't make sense. It just feels like Jennifer she doesn't care about her daughter. She doesn't attend her own daughter's birthday party. That's not even held on the day of her daughter's birth. It's like you could schedule that for when you're off then. And then it just feels like she could not physically care less about her own kid. Also, why the hell is Stefan staying with them? He and Jennifer are broken up at this point. It doesn't even make sense. She even tells officers, it wasn't until June of last year that we'd broken up. And I said, okay, I don't want to sleep with him in the same bed. Please move upstairs. And he moved upstairs. So you don't want to sleep with him in the same bed, but you want your 13-year-old daughter to sleep with him in the same bed. Jennifer's explanation for that is, I don't know if I was ever comfortable with that, the two of them sleeping together. But you told them to sleep together Sunday night. I did. That was a selfish move on my part. It's because I wanted a good night's sleep. I didn't want her kicking me or rolling onto me or waking me up to hear her alarm so that it woke me up. I wanted to keep sleeping until I needed to sleep because I just had not had that with my training schedule. I have had not a good night's sleep. My medication was out of whack. I was feeling funny and not like myself, and I knew that I needed another night's sleep and my medication in my body. Then why not just have your parents watch her? So Jennifer's grandmother lives nearby, and when Jennifer is working, she will actually do drop-off and pickups. She'll help watch Maddie. I'm not saying parents should become unstable or not take their medication or sacrifice their own physical health for their children, but there are certain things you can do to ensure the safety of both you and your child. Like, let her stay at grandma. She was already at grandma Sunday for the birthday party. In fact, she cried to grandma saying that she didn't want to go home that week. Then in other interviews, Jennifer and the other roommates, as well as Jennifer family members, they all mention that Jennifer is a deep sleeper. Her meds knock her out. Like, she will be out like a light to the point where she cannot hear anything. So she's saying, I needed my sleep. I didn't need anyone to bother me. Like, I'm so fragile and frail. I need my sleep. Ooh, I really need it. But then also, I didn't hear anything Sunday night because I just knocked out. I was so deep asleep. Additionally, she was not scheduled to work Monday or Tuesday, so she had a lot of time to recoup before going back to work. Furthermore, if Jennifer was someone who needed good quality sleep, why did she sleep with her quote-unquote nervous dog? I don't know about a nervous dog, but remember she said he came to put the leash on my nervous dog, and I had to help him in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Was the dog in the room with you?
Yes. He gets very nervous and will urinate. If you put the leash on him too directly, you have to be nice and talk to him.
I don't know about you. If you have a nervous dog, they're typically very sensitive to noise and they're barking all the time and they're rummaging, they're pacing when they feel like something's happening, they growl, they grunt. I mean, they think everything is a potential threat. So it doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. Another roommate said that she always saw Maddie and Stefan alone upstairs in room number 4. And she would even ask Jennifer because she thought that was strange. Like, hey, is that okay for your daughter to just... This is not even a stepdad that raised her since she was young. This is not even a stepdad. This is not her biological father. It's not even a family member. And sometimes a lot of abuse even happens within family members. So you can't even just, it was even weirder. It's just, I can't think of a single explanation why that's okay, the roommate is saying. So she asked Jennifer, is that okay? Because that's weird.
I think for them to ask, there must be some off vibes.
Energy. It's not just oh, Maddie's bored. She didn't want to be alone. So they're and then Stefan is oh my God, I want to be alone. But this kid keeps bothering. Clearly something is weird. Mm-hmm. And Jennifer's no, he would never harm my daughter. Even one of the other roommates is more emotional when talking about what Stefan did to Maddie in regards of the abuse. She cries in the interview with the police. She's more emotional than Jennifer. She keeps saying throughout the interview, I wish I had paid more attention. I wish I had paid more attention.
Wow.
I wish I would have saw or something. I would have paid more attention or something.
Which are the things that you would expect someone to say. Side note, there is this very emotional moment where the detectives tell the roommate, we received a tip, an anonymous tip that you knew about the abuse, that you told someone about the abuse. That roommate was oh yeah, I live with this family. I think that there's abuse going on. Keep in mind, this is a high profile case. So this tip likely, I want to say, personally, in my opinion, has no merit. I don't think it's real.
Bro, I would have killed myself if I knew anything, dog. I promise you.
I've never heard that kind of anger or upset or anything from Jennifer in any of her interviews. And then Jennifer, on one hand, she acts like the world's most micromanaging, attentive mom. Oh, I have to remind her to do things because she's forgetful. She has ADHD. I have to make sure that she takes her medication because I don't want her to take Adderall at night because then she can't sleep. And then what if she accidentally takes it? I have to do this. I have to do this. She pretends to be a micromanager whilst never attending an open house at her school, at Maddie's school. All of Maddie's teachers say, one of them said, Maddie would have sleepy days, which were not normal. She would be zoned out and asleep through the entire period. You know how kids will sleep in school? This was not that. They say the level of this was just different. They told Maddie's mom about it. She did nothing. She just said, oh, it's her meds. So you are micromanaging, but at the same time, you don't notice anything. And by all accounts, if you mesh together Maddie's teacher, Maddie's friends, Maddie's family members, all of their testimonies and statements, it seems like Maddie was doing so much better mentally after Stefan moved out and was slowly recovering. That's what it feels like. They don't know that because they just think, oh, she's been a lot better. She's been more attentive and more focused on her schoolwork. She's been more creative recently. But if you kind of put the pieces together, she's recovering after he moves out. Even Jennifer tells an officer, Maddie had the typical teenage attitude. The sass, the talking back, the disrespect, the pushing boundaries. She was very much doing that. But that calmed down over the last few months. Got even better when Stefan moved out and went to Northport. That's what she says. It's hard to believe that Jennifer never once sat there and goes, why is that? Not even once? And then she said in a previous interview, they're best buds. Would you not be sad if your best bud moves out of the house? I would imagine that her behavior would get worse if they truly were best buds. And she sees this healthy father figure who loves playing board games with her innocently. One of Maddie's friends tells authorities that sometimes Maddie would just come to school crying. And then she would just say, it's fine, I just want to cry it out. But one of the most interesting things a few netizens have pointed out is the fact that, again, she's micromanaging medications, doing all of that, but then not really caring about Maddie at all, but also tracking Maddie's menstrual cycle. Jennifer mentioned that she has an app and Maddie will come to her and tell her when she starts her menstrual cycle. A few netizens have pointed out, quote, I never tracked my daughter's cycle. I just have supplies in the house when she needs it. And consider this, Jennifer is a drugged out fart in a whirlwind. This is their comment, not mine. Like, she does not have her shit there. Jennifer does. Okay, she does not. Does she seem like a micromanager and super involved mother to you? But now she's tracking her menstrual cycle of all things? Now, according to Jennifer, she says, my entire day was focused around Maddie. I would wake up first thing in the morning, make sure she's ready, make her breakfast, get her backpack and water bottle ready. If she's taking lunch, get her some lunch ready. This is me doing this while she's getting ready. Make sure she takes all her medications before school, take her to school, come back. She was my entire life. Everything I did every day was for her. But again, according to teachers, she never even attended her daughter's open house. But then she's tracking her menstrual cycle. And this is another thing. I don't know if maybe, again, because I'm not a parent, I'm not entirely sure. But if I had a 13-year-old daughter, I would try to instill in her the responsibility of tracking her own cycle. So I would probably get her the app on her phone and remind her to track it. And if she doesn't, I can tell her to whip out her phone and we can track it together. But I don't know if I would track it on my phone and have her come tell me. Like, that's a little weird. Especially because Jennifer is not the type that's like, I need to have my eyes on everything. I am a perfectionist mother and I need to be hyper involved. Mm-hmm. It's just, one day she's a hyper involved mom. The other day she doesn't care at all that her daughter is being abused. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then there's all the other small inconsistencies. The day that Maddie goes missing, she goes to pick up Maddie from school, but she only waits outside for 10 minutes. Some netizens feel like she knows that Maddie's not coming out of school because a lot of them are saying, I wait for my kids for like 30 minutes outside and they take forever and they're annoying. You know, it's like, it happens. She also says it's normal for Maddie to forget her phone, but the officer tells her straight up in the interrogation room.
Her cell records and her cell data from her cell phone show it is not common for her to leave her phone at home. It is common for her to go to school with her. You know, teenager leaves their phone at home. It's what they're attached to it.
She's left her phone home multiple
times. Her cell data shows that normally it goes with her. So that's intentional. You know it's intentional because he left his too.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's an accident last Friday, this Monday, was not an accident.
Regardless, investigators are clearly skeptical of Jennifer. One report reads, during the course of the investigation, Jennifer has been interviewed by detectives and the media. Jennifer has made numerous contradictory statements to detectives and media outlets. During initial interviews with patrol officers and detectives, she stated that Stefan took Maddie to school. During other statements, she said, we took Maddie to school. Jennifer's whereabouts are also inconsistent. She initially stated that she did not take Maddie to school because of a new job, and then she later stated that actually it wasn't her new job, she had a doctor's appointment that day. Which, side note, she had 2 doctor's appointments that day. One that she actually did attend for blood work, her annual exams, and then a second one that she canceled the day of. And they asked her why she canceled it, and she said, I didn't want to go to a $350 Botox appointment. Now, most of the time, in almost all the interviews, Jennifer complains about not having enough money because she's on disability, and she finally got a part-time job at Disney. So maybe she is a horrendous financial manager. I mean, I could see that totally. But also, $350 Botox appointment is a lot.
So why did she book it if she thought that was too much money? Right?
We don't know.
That's not something you find out a day of.
Yeah, like how much it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird. There is a whole theory connected to this that we're going to get into in a second. Now, multiple officers tell her straight up to her face that they feel like she's covering up for Stefan.
And her reaction?
Her reaction is, no, I just want you to understand that we're all the same. We all have ADHD. We're all forgetful. As in her, Stefan, and Maddie. And then at the end of one interview, she even asks, how long does somebody go to jail for something like this? Please tell me it's so much. It sounds like she's trying to ask how long Stefan is going to jail, but she doesn't sound like a parent that's like, he better be behind bars for the rest of his life. Otherwise, the day he comes out, I'm going hunting. Like, that's not the vibe. It's giving, how long is he going to be gone for? If he did something to her that led to her death, yeah, he's going to prison for life. She lets out a sigh, but it doesn't sound like a sigh of relief. It almost sounds like a gut punch sigh to me. Like someone who is told very bad news. The cop continues. He's probably going to prison for life for the SA charges and the CSAM charges. So like multiple life sentences. Fine. Kim. Oh my God. What does that mean?
Fine?
Yeah.
What do you mean fine?
What? Yeah.
Fine is a weird comment.
Yeah.
Fine.
It's not good. He deserves it and more. I hope he gets the death penalty. It's not that.
Yeah.
It's like, fine. Him. It's weird. It's so weird. She also mentions how she trusts him very, very much. She trusted him all the time with her daughter. But also in the same interview, she mentions that he has bad judgment, doesn't make good decisions, stole money from his parents, stole a Rolex from his deceased grandfather, lies to his parents nonstop. She even admits that when Maddie's Christmas money was stolen, she and Maddie thought that it was Stefan briefly before the money turned up again. But the fact that you think that he's going to steal your daughter's Christmas money, but you trust him? When asked if Stefan ever expressed that he wanted to essay a child, she says, not a child, which is already a bad way to start. But he told me he graduated high school later, like older than 18. He dated someone younger than 18. She was 15. I don't know how old he was at the time, like 19, 20. But he was an older kid in high school. He graduated late. But again, you trusted him with your 13-year-old daughter? She will also say, I believe he did the stuff, but I don't think he ever did anything evil to her. Okay, like the stuff happened, right? But what if that's completely a side thing and not having to do with her being missing? Like, what if, I just don't think Stefan would have done anything to her. And another, I know this happened, but I'm not convinced that he didn't take her to school. I'm not convinced he's the reason that she's gone. Because why Monday? What's the motive? Why that day? Why the day after her birthday when we were supposed to spend the entire week together and have such a great time? We had plans. I just can't think why she was taken. Not by anybody that I know has done something to her, because I feel like nobody I know would do something to her that would hurt her, would murder her, or anything like that. Someone you know essayed her for years. What do you mean no one you know would hurt her?
Like, it's possible that his story might be true and somebody else could have taken her. Like, I'm just thinking, like, what if we're focusing, like, okay, the sex things happened, right? But what if that's completely a side thing and not having to do with this, like her missing?
Another bizarre thing, she talks about how her mom ingrained into her body to never trust a man. Her mom hated Stefan, and she admits it. That's why Stefan wasn't even invited to Maddie's birthday celebration, because her mom absolutely despises Stefan. So the woman that you proudly state ingrained into you to never trust a man doesn't like this man, and you still don't see any red flags. It's just weird. Mm-hmm. Now, one frustrating thing that I noted was she is oddly detail-oriented for the most useless things. When it comes to things that will actually help find Maddie, she'll say things like, I want to say 9 a.m. I want to say, I'm going to say, and it's very vague. Nothing is specific. But then when the cop is like, oh, do you have a friend that lives in this area? She's like, I do. I have a friend. Hold on. Let me pull out my maps and give you her exact home address and phone number. It's like suddenly she's so oddly specific about the most useless things that have nothing to do with anything. She's always guesstimating the important things. I'm going to say, I want to say, but then when it's actually important, like that's it. That's all she does. Later, she is told that Maddie is deceased, and the officer is telling her that he doesn't want her to be surprised when that information is released to the public because there's going to be a press conference. She asks, Am I going to be at the press conference? Am I going to hear it? Which is odd. Because you heard it a few days ago when the authorities told you that they believe that Maddie is dead, and you're hearing it now. Why does it matter if you hear it again at the press conference? The problem is that not that you're hearing it. The problem is that your daughter has been killed. She explains to the officer, I've been avoiding the internet because my family is telling me that stuff has been leaked on the New York Post, or you guys said something. They're all traumatized from the media and they're telling me don't. And I don't want to hear it. She will be in the trenches of a really traumatic, or what is supposed to be a traumatic interview with police. And then she'll say the word shit. She'll say shit, and then say, sorry, I have a horrible potty mouth. Another odd moment is that she keeps continuing to say that she doesn't believe Stefan would ever hurt her child. And she says, quote, this is a very bizarre quote.
Before those images, I would have said absolutely not. Mm-hmm. But if you're telling me that on the other side of that penis they showed me was her with her mouth, then there's nothing else I can believe. That has to be true. But before that evidence, I would have said no.
The way she's describing is so weird. Mm-hmm. Some netizens are like, it feels like she is describing seeing a picture of her husband and a mistress.
Clearly, she doesn't care about the daughter. And all she cares about is like, can you 100% verify this man that I like
was intimate with someone else? What's even more bizarre is both Stefan and Jennifer will constantly talk about how forgetful Maddie is because she has ADHD. But if you go through all of the police reports with Maddie's friends, family, teachers, counselor, they all mention one condition, and it's not ADHD. It's the fact that she has asthma and carries an inhaler. So most people would assume if your daughter is missing, you would tell the police she has asthma. She needs her inhaler. I can't find her inhaler. I don't know if she has her inhaler. What happens if she has an asthma attack? Because yes, ADHD is a debilitating thing, but asthma, like you're talking about in very serious situations, it could be life or death in a minute. Mm-hmm. Jennifer also states that Stefan would sleep with his shirt and his boxers, sometimes pants, but from Stefan's own Reddit comments, he responds to a thread. People who sleep naked, why? He responds, shirts and shorts get caught up in the sheets. Naked allows you to move, turn under the sheets without them getting caught up around you. Which leads us to the conspiracies. The CSAM conspiracy. There are variations of this theory, some believing that only Stefan is involved in profiting off of the CSAM because remember, they found hundreds of photos, over 400 photos and videos of Maddie being abused by Stefan, but they also found 35,000 files of CSAM on his hard drive. We don't know how much of that is Maddie. I'm assuming it's not all Maddie. I'm assuming there's a lot of other victims. Now, it doesn't seem to be under the impression that the police believe that he victimized others or if he was purchasing the CCM or downloading it off the internet. Regardless, it seems like a criminal enterprise is what netizens believe. Others argue that Jennifer might have known and was probably profiting off of it as well. Even Stefan's own parents are confused about where he was getting money from because he's unemployed. He's constantly ordering stuff. He constantly is ordering Tamagotchi and packages are coming nonstop. His dad would straight up ask him, where the hell are you getting this money? Even Jennifer said she was confused because he's constantly getting deliveries, but he has no job and he has no savings and he's broke. One of the roommates said in a police interview, the only time she ever saw Stefan act nervous was the day of Monday morning. He was acting a little bit nervous. She didn't recognize it at the time, but it was odd. We went over that in part 1. But also, he was waiting for a package one time, and he seemed really angsty about it. Some people think maybe it was a package of CSAM. He allegedly had a lot of social media profiles, the obvious one, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, but additionally, Telegram. And if you have watched any of our Nth Room series, I mean, you know what's going on Telegram. There's a lot of shady stuff on Telegram. The theory summarized by one netizen reads, if the reports are true that the most of the heinous material is from the room, you know, the little partitioned area where Maddie slept, was it literally created solely for the intent of production set value? So some netizens think because Maddie never slept in her room, in the living room, where it just has the fake walls. She never slept there. Why did they create this random room there? And if you see pictures of the room, it's very girly. It looks like a teenage girl's room, which is kind of normal, but some netizens were thinking more into it. If Maddie never sleeps there, she doesn't spend time there, what if that room is used as a set for CSAM? They found Stefan's boxers in that room. So it feels like it could have been used for CSAM production because maybe they want to make it look like a little girl's room where the CSAM is happening, the abuse is happening for some disgusting fetish. And also, if you look at pictures, there's a webcam directly facing the bed area. But again, it could be more innocent. It could just be the setup of her room. She likes to sit on her computer. And even Stefan's mom says, though, well, ask yourself the big question. The really big question out there is all that stuff on his computer, all that stuff on his phone, all that money that was coming in by the handfuls and the way they were spending it, where did it come from? Stefan's dad says, we're very suspicious that there was some kind of enterprise going on. And of course, police won't tell us anything about it. There's a bigger web, possibly. And in a release document, the warrant reads, the files depict the performance of a child. The images were taken in a way to elicit a response from the viewers. The netizens who believe are split on whether or not Jennifer was involved or not. They bring up the Botox. They say, where is she getting this money for a $350 Botox appointment? Perhaps she knew what was happening, but she changed her mind the very last minute because she realized how shady it looks if she goes to that appointment that day. One big component to this theory is that there are reports Stefan is receiving commissary money from a 55-year-old man in Florida. There's not much information about this man out there, verified information at the very least, but it appears that he's really the only other person sending Stefan money aside from his family members. It feels random, but the only thing that you can really find on this guy is that he was apparently arrested for openly self-pleasuring himself in front of minors. So you can imagine, how do these two people know each other? In addition to those who believe Jennifer is involved in the conspiracy for CSAM, there is another piece of evidence that people are using. In a jailhouse phone call from Stefan's parents to Stefan, his dad asks him, are you cooperating with the police about her participation in any of this stuff?
There's been no opportunity for me to cooperate with anything. As I understand, the police keep saying that I'm uncooperative, but they haven't asked me anything to cooperate with, so whatever that means.
That's one big conspiracy, but that still doesn't cover motive. Even Jennifer, which is weird, she says there's no motive. They were about to have a great weekend. So why would he kill her that Monday morning, Sunday night, Monday morning? What would be the motive? Maddie's friend mentions to the officers that she did notice something strange with Maddie recently. They're usually cycle synced, but Maddie had not had her period around the same time. When police questioned Jennifer about this, Jennifer says, actually, that is weird. She was supposed to have she goes missing on the 26th. She was supposed to have her period early February, in the beginning of February, and she did not.
Now, my understanding is that you had some sort of period tracker that you kept track of Madeleine's period with?
I had a calendar app that I would write what days she would get her period, yeah. In February, no, I didn't notice her using any of her feminine hygiene products.
Could they test for that or no?
Yes, but they probably won't release it to the public anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
The officer asks her, and she didn't tell you about this last cycle? No. You don't find that odd? Yes, now that you bring it up, yes. Would there be obvious signs that she's on her cycle as far as certain products she might use? AKA, maybe she just didn't tell you, but she was bleeding. Yeah, her pads. I would get her a box every 2 cycles or so. I would usually hear about her breast hurting or her period cramps, but I didn't hear any of that. But the biggest factor that makes netizens believe this is the motive is December 16th, 2023. This is released from a police report. Maddie sent Stefan a text message, a photograph of 2 silver coins. The coins have the writing, new parent decision coin. 2 texts, we need this, get this for us, please. The coins are from Amazon. It's called Fun New Parent Decision Coin And in the product description, it reads, gifts for new mom and dad, parent gifts, baby shower for $4.29. So on one side of the coin, it says daddy's turn and mommy's turn. The purpose being, I guess, if the baby is crying in the middle of the night, you flip the coin, who goes?
This is in December?
Of 2023. So 2 months before she goes missing.
Okay.
The description reads, if you have friends or family members that are pregnant or are new parents, this is a perfect gift for them. The case report reads, this is not speculation on my part. The case report reads, due to the fact that this conversation was not near Father's Day or Mother's Day, leads one to believe Maddie and Stefan had possibly spoken about conceiving a child. Perhaps it could be that. Some people who don't believe in this think that maybe it was for one of their Tamagotchis. But if you go on Reddit, a lot of people say that Tamagotchis, the lifespan of the Tamagotchi being a baby, is like an hour. Where you just have to be a lot more attentive to your device because the Tamagotchi is a baby. But you wouldn't need to spend money to flip a coin for like an hour. It's weird. But some others believe maybe it's not just pregnancy, or maybe it's not at all pregnancy. It's jealousy. In the interrogation room, there's this very odd moment where he asks the officers, okay, the officers are asking him actually, what happened Sunday night between you and Maddie? Like, did you guys have any sort of conversation or did an incident take place? And he says, you mean like a fight? Which is weird. What would a 38-year-old man and a 13-year-old girl fight about? It's one thing if you're a good parental figure and you're butting heads over some sort of disciplinary situation, but I would hardly describe that as a fight. He tells officers, no, Sunday night was completely normal. She was very happy, and she was telling him about a crush that she had on a boy at school. And they ask him, how does that make you feel?
She knows she's not old enough to date, but I told her crush on.
Do you think, has she had any boyfriends in the past?
Not per se, but boyfriends as however they can be early on, but we decided that she was too young. Needed to avoid that BS.
All right. Being that she's too young, so she shouldn't be having sex with boys.
None of it counts. It's real.
What do you mean? None of it counts. None of it's real. Has she ever disclosed that she was being active with boys? No, not that I'm aware of. It just feels like he's jealous. None of it counts. None of it's real. Fine. Why would I? Fine. It's weird. Perhaps it's a combination of jealousy, pregnancy, and potentially control. Like I said, everybody said that Maddie was getting better. Maybe he felt like she is loosening from his grip and it's only a matter of time before she tells somebody. But with the potential control narrative of if control was the motive, it doesn't make sense how he could allegedly kill her, because it's even more risky than what he's already done. But another aspect of this conspiracy is that maybe he thought that he would never get caught. In another thread on Reddit, he talks about how he loves having guns. He writes, in an ideal world, a gun would never be needed. But we don't live in an ideal world. We live in the real world where bad things happen to good and innocent people all the time, and often with no resolutions or convictions, especially in some of the areas I have lived in. He writes, therapy is for victims. And therapy is great for victims, provided the victims are still, alive and well, and therapy may or may not help the victim in the long term. How about not having a victim at all? If a scumbag attempts to kill me or my loved ones, why should I roll over and let him? I am alive, and I therefore have the natural right to continue living. That is something I believe, and I will defend with my own life. If someone attempts to take it, if someone had an assault rifle and was trying to kidnap my wife or child, there would absolutely be some lethal gunplay involved at that point. I would not sit idly by and just let it happen and hope that the cops do their jobs well and hope my loved ones aren't too molested or too murdered by the time that they're found, if ever. Are you okay with standing by while someone you love is R-worded, murdered, kidnapped, beaten, robbed, maimed, etc.? Is it okay then for a person to decide whether their victim lives or dies? Which is very rich coming from him, considering what he's accused of doing. So you've got the CSAM ring allegations, which, side note, I believe that a choir teacher, Madeleine is a good singer, by the way. She was in choir. A choir teacher at the same exact middle school that Madeleine Soto goes was arrested for having CSAM on his phone. This is a recent development.
From this case?
From this case. I don't know if Stefan is talking, cooperating, ratting people out, or if they're just taking a good look at everybody nearby. But there has been an influx of people getting arrested in that Central Florida area for CSAM charges.
Whoa.
Maybe it's connected, maybe it's not. I think we'll just have to wait and find out. But we have the CCM allegations, this bigger theory that seems every day to seem more and more true. And then you have the motives, jealousy, control, and ultimately the biggest theory and motive, pregnancy. And then you also have people debating about the impact that Stefan's parents are having on this case. They've been a huge part of this case. They've been interesting figures in all of this. They will say some absolutely transparent stuff about their own child, Stefan, valid things about him, but then also go and defend him at other points. His parents have said about their own son, if his lips are moving, he's lying. We don't know if it's the truth if his lips are open. He's a gaslighter, you know? He could make you think that things were one way when they were a total other way and do it with such sincerity that you questioned yourself. He's a narcissist. It was all about Stefan. If Stefan wanted it, then he didn't want to wait. He didn't want to wait for Christmas. He didn't want to wait for his birthday. It was now, and then he would throw a fit. He would steal his parents' money, jewelry, his grandpa's heirloom Rolex that he left behind. I mean, just nonstop. They would say all the most transparent things about him. But then on one hand, it does seem like they're sticking by their son, Stefan. So Stefan's jailhouse calls have been released, and in one jailhouse, and some of his emails, in one jailhouse email from Stefan to his father, it reads, "Hey, I just got access to my tablet again. They have moved me to a regular isolation cell in C-Pod now. Presumably, this is where I'll stay for a while. It's not exactly the Ritz. It's a small cell, and the pod is quite noisy. I didn't think that I would miss the medical pod, but now I wish I was back in that big cell. You know, where I at least could partially see out the window and look at the sky and the grass and the trees off in the distance as they swayed in the breeze. But in this new pod, the mat is flat and has very little cushion left. The cell is small, filthy, and has some spots on the wall that appear to be bloody fingerprints." He then requests his parents send 2 books to him, Congo and The Hobbit, potentially a 3rd book on how to make origami because it, quote, could be interesting to learn and it's a good way to pass time and satisfy my need to create and craft and use my hands. He also sends his parents a lot of very annoying to read woe is me emails. They read, "I just got a good look at my face in the dark reflection of my tablet. My eyes are a bit sunk in with dark circles underneath and my cheekbones are sticking out so much they look like they could cut you. I don't doubt that I'm continuing to lose weight. I am now going on 4 months in here and all that time I have never felt a full stomach." And have in fact forgotten what it is like. There is never a time these days when I don't feel hungry, even right after a meal in which I completely clear my tray. I still feel hungry. Write me a monologue. Nobody cares. Later in the email, he asks for more money. "I have only 7 coffees left, which is dangerously low for me. I usually like to have 2 a day and have started rationing down to 1. But soon I will have none, and then I will really be glum. I also only have 3 pieces of root beer candy left, so things are getting quite bleak here for me." Stefan calls his dad from jail and denies the murder. He says,
Obviously, it's not true. I never would have wanted her gone for any reason, so... premeditated first degree is kind of a punch.
That he's getting charged with that. He's like, whoa, that's unnecessary. That's overkill. That's basically his tone of voice. Annoyingly, he goes on to talk about how that week, was going to be a great week. Why would he have motive to kill Madeleine? He says, we were all very happy that I was there. We were happy that the 3 of us were together. It was shaking up to be a great week and a great visit. There's no reason for anything to happen. He also mentions about the whole situation with Madeleine, the essay situation. Well, I didn't start it. Is he implying that Madeleine started it? Or is he implying that Jennifer started it? What is he implying? If he's implying Madeleine, I don't know. I think he should have a long talk about his charges with his fellow inmates then. And maybe he should tell them that the 8-year-old girl started it. See what they think. They say, well, you didn't start it, but you participated in it, which is just as bad as not starting it, but that's for another day.
Who said that?
The parents, which is
That
also
is
crazy.
Yeah.
Like, if that were my son uttering words like that, I think that I would potentially need police to restrain me. He says, I would never wanted that for her. I'm not really sure that any one person is specifically responsible. It's probably a combination of factors that led to it. I have never felt anything like that before. It was horrible. He also continues to rant to his parents about how bad prison is. He says, my core temperature was down, like a degree or 2 lower than it should have been every time they took it. First night, it was concrete floor with a rolled up toilet paper for a pillow, nothing else. So there are some netizens who support Stefan's parents because they feel that in their own weird way, they are also victims in all of this because they too are traumatized. They're hurt and they're trying to figure out how to navigate, how to consolidate their love for their own son while damning what he's done. That's how some netizens feel. They point that even Stefan is so heartless to them. Perhaps he has given them a lifetime of pain. When on the phone with Stefan while he's in jail, his parents tell him, the penalty for the crimes you've been charged with, they carry a minimum 40-year sentence. So obviously we're going to be gone. Your brother's going to be gone. We'll all be gone. I mean, we're sad about that, obviously, because there won't be anybody else for you when you get out. Stefan does not care. His response is, yeah, well, I'll be lucky if I'll have another 40 years left in me either, so. At the end of the call, he asks them, if you wouldn't mind putting a little more money in my commissary as well. All right, well, I can't do much, Stefan, because we really are, when I say dead ass broke, I mean dead ass broke. But I will do what I can. Stefan's mom tells officers she feels like she's in the 7th ring of hell. They state he did this and we know that now. We're not making excuses for him, but we cannot abandon him. They also mention how they're getting harassed online, but Stefan just says about them. Stefan says this, that he hates going to his parents' house because it's full of poodles and deaf old people, aka his parents. But some netizens blame his parents because they're like, I think that the parents played a role in how he became this way. And the fact that they're supporting him after all these charges further validates that they are enabling him to some degree. It just seems like they baby him. A lot of netizens express frustration with the fact that he's nearly 40 years old. He's doing nothing with his life. His parents just let him. They pay his rent. They let him stay in his room painting figurines all day, sleeping all day, just eating dinner whenever they have food prepared. His room is so dirty that his mom wants to put on a hazmat sticker over his door. But again, they're letting him. They complain about it, but they're letting him. They also talk about how the poodles are noisy and it just causes so much tension in the house because Stefan doesn't sleep at night, he sleeps through the day. And if the poodles bark in the day because, I don't know, the mailman is coming, then Stefan will have a flare up, aka it sounds like he has anger issues. This is, again, a 37-year-old man. In the same interview, Stefan's parents will talk about how he has a high IQ and he's highly intelligent. And they say that his IQ is bordered on genius, and that he has a deep empathy for other people. They will also say some things that trigger a lot of netizens. The mom is asked if she saw any of this, if she saw any alarm bells go off. She states that when Jennifer, Madeleine, and Stefan had come to visit their home one day, they had noticed that they all slept in the same bed. And she was like, no, you cannot do that. Maddie will sleep with me. Grandpa will sleep somewhere else because that's weird. And she claims that she told Jennifer about it and Jennifer was like, whatever. And she just felt like they're going to do what they're going to do and there's nothing that she can do to stop them. But then at the same time, she'll say that she never suspected her son would do anything to Maddie because Maddie would even go over to Stefan, give him a kiss on the cheek and tell him that she loved him. I'm sure they're just trying to explain how they never suspected anything, but in certain situations, this could be miscommunicated as almost victim blaming in a sense. They also seem more shocked that Jennifer would let Maddie and Stefan sleep in the same bed together rather than, why is your son sleeping with a 13-year-old girl? Even if that were the case, I would expect my son, my hypothetical 37-year-old son, to be like, hey, I don't think I want to be in this relationship anymore because Jennifer, you're weird, first of all. And second of all, I'm not sleeping with your 13-year-old daughter. This is weird. I might call CPS on you. But that being said, they express more outrage with Jennifer. And they'll also say things like, I think he was careful in placing Maddie's body where she would be quickly found. Deep down inside, he didn't want her out there very long. His father also says, given the gravity of the charges and knowing what the penalty is, we're resigned to accept that fate and the fact that we can lose him in a multitude of ways in any given time. Some prisoner in the jail could off him, and we're just dealing with that on a day-to-day basis. They also go on to state, I can say I love somebody, but I don't have to like them. I don't have to like the way they act. That doesn't mean we are ever, despite what anybody on YouTube says. Yeah, they don't like a lot of YouTubers covering this case. Or anybody hints at, we are not abandoning our child. He is wounded. He is having PTSD in jail. He lost a tremendous amount of weight. He is on heart medication, high blood pressure medication, which he has not been on before. I understand that people think he needs to suffer. Well, yes, okay, he needs to be punished. He needs to suffer. But don't expect me as a mother to turn off my heart and say, buddy, you're on your own. I don't like you. I don't like what you did. And I'm not going to stand by you one bit because I want him for the time that he has left on this earth. We don't know how long that is. I will give him as much support as he needs. I want him to be strong in mind, body, and spirit. Wouldn't you do the same? Wouldn't anybody? No, I can confidently say that I would not. I do also find it very interesting when the accused, someone that is accused of taking another person's life, especially a child's life, can do something as heinous, but also have the audacity to bring up that they have high blood pressure. Like, I'm supposed to find some care in my heart for that. I know lots of innocent people who have high blood pressure and they don't make it a thing. You killed someone allegedly. Why make it a thing? Some netizens also feel like they're going to try to dump all of this on Jennifer. In one of the jailhouse calls, Stefan's parents tell him that Jennifer was, quote,
speculation that she's been put in an institution and hiding in an institution. At her lawyer's request.
So they're saying her lawyer is telling her to go to the institution. It'll probably look better for you. We don't know. We don't know if this is true. We don't know if it's not true. We don't know anything. In another interview, Stefan's mom says, I'm not letting Jennifer off the hook at all. I cannot believe someone let this go underneath their nose for 7 years. I don't understand how she didn't have a connection with Maddie enough that Maddie could go and say, hey, you know, maybe something's not right here. They say the immunity galls me. All the lies, all of the things that she did are all wiped clean. She never has to worry about it again. Which again, that's not how derivative use immunity works. But it's almost like saying, I understand why netizens are upset with Jennifer, but why is she upset? Yeah. That's almost like saying, if Jennifer had been a better person, she could have stopped my son from being a deplorable person. And Stefan's dad is on the same page. He writes an email to Stefan while Stefan is in jail that reads, we all know that redacted, likely Jennifer, was heavily involved in this, and I am disgusted that she is free and you are not, when this is not all your fault. You need to think about yourself more and her less. She sure isn't thinking of you and how she can help you right now. That whole family is willing to stay quiet and let you take the fall for everything. Stefan's dad even tells the authorities, I think Stefan's decided to be the fall guy in this because he's feeling remorse over the inappropriate relationship that he's had with Maddie. Inappropriate relationship! Speaking of remorse, Stefan's mom says about Stefan's interview with news outlet after Maddie goes missing. Remember, he was like crying, his eyes were red. The other thing is that as a mother, I have not seen that mother cry. You do not fake the sound of his voice. Like, I have not seen that child cry like that. My son, you do not fake that sound in his voice. The clogged sinuses that he was dealing with, that man was sick. I just know that he's the only one that's feeling any remorse or any sorrow for that child. Jennifer is not.
This is freaking crazy.
Yeah, they also bring up that Jennifer was a bad influence on Stefan right off the bat because they bring up her drugs, aka the medication that she takes. And don't get me wrong, I will side-eye Jennifer Soto until my eyes are embedded next to my ears on the side of my skull. But that's for not protecting Maddie. That is not for being a bad influence on Stefan. Stefan's mom says Jennifer is, quote, she's bipolar, she's bisexual, she's a drug addict, she has a young child. Yeah. What? She also rants about how Jennifer can't keep a job, but neither can your son, so I guess they're a perfect match. And also, ma'am, your son is accused of CSAM, abuse, and murder, but you're upset about someone being bisexual? Stefan's mom also has a moment where she talks about how a lot of girls will go after Stefan, like they'll pursue Stefan. She seems like the mother-in-law that calls all of her son's girlfriends just crazy, obsessed. It's like, I don't think a singular person is running after your son like that. Investigators even ask Stefan's parents, hey, like, do you know what kinds of people Stefan is into? Because it seems like he's into minors. But she says, no, he's into big boobs, which is the total opposite of what Jennifer states. Jennifer was also asked if he has any kinks because they're trying to figure out, has he spoken to people about his interest in, you know, doing the worst thing that a human can do? But she says he's into butts. He really likes anal, keeps begging for it. But she says no because it already hurts. Because it's very thick. Those are her words, not mine. I don't know, okay? But then his mom is saying big boobs. And so some netizens feel like that's weird. It feels like she's saying that to make Stefan appear like a well-adjusted man that likes full-grown women. Which is clearly not true. So now Stefan is facing 2 trials in court. He is now awaiting 2. He has been charged with 60 counts, including 8 counts of sexual battery on a child under 12, 5 counts of sexual with a child aged 12 to 18, 7 counts of lewd molestation, 40 counts of unlawful possession of materials depicting sexual performance of a child. And each of those 40 counts means 10 or more files. So it's not one per file. Right now, that means they've found 400 images and videos, but it's likely more, 35,000 on his hard drive. But in terms of what they're charging him for, like they don't need to charge him for every little count. They might add on more. And eventually he was charged with first-degree premeditated murder. The prosecutors file a notice of intent to seek capital punishment. They're going for the death penalty. This is in Florida. And it's clear that Stefan has no remorse, at least in my opinion. He tells his dad while he's in jail, obviously there are concerns that the police are artificially inflating everything up as high as they can possibly do it. You know, what is the plan? What the plan is there, the prosecutors? So they're just trying to scare me into pleading down. Or I don't know. That's what he says. Additionally, there's a level of delusion that he has. He tells his parents to have his social security card ready just in case he gets released. This is after the murder charges are tacked on. He even emails his dad, "As for my Tamagotchi and VPET collection that is hanging in the closet and around the room, don't do anything with them just yet until we know how things will shake out. A lot of them are rare and expensive and difficult, if not impossible to replace in the kind of pristine condition they are in. So leave them for now until we know more about what my situation is going to be." You're about to be someone else's Tamagotchi in jail, okay? Let's get our mind back to reality. He continues, "I have access to the law library, which has a lot of case, law rulings. I've been busy looking through anything that has relevant to my own situation, and I think I found some things which give me some hope, but only some. I can't explain too much on here, but there is still perhaps a slim hope for my situation. At any rate, my odds are not 0% at this time." I genuinely think that he, to a degree, thinks he's going to get away with it, because previously on Reddit, he talks about cops and he says, cops don't get paid enough to honestly investigate anything, and nothing will happen unless you do their jobs for them and hand them all the evidence yourself. Fingerprints are really only something that gets pulled in movies or on TV. All the movies and shows make it look like they're going to catch you no matter what, but it's just what they want you to think. In reality, it's almost the opposite. Most cops don't really have any investigative skills and are low on deductive reasoning or just don't want to work. That's what happens when agencies pay low and hire people with IQs that are low. It's not a job that attracts a lot of intelligent people. Truly, maybe he thinks he's going to get away with it. And perhaps he thinks he deserves some sympathy, because unprompted on a random Ask Reddit thread where the original poster is asking, "Do you think someone like Louis C.K., the comedian, should be able to get their careers back, or should he be canceled for life? Why or why not?" He writes, "It's complicated, but the short answer is he does not deserve to have his career destroyed forever and ever, with no hope of ever moving on or coming out from it. He deserves to be punished, but I'm not sure he should be labeled a monster forever. A person can do bad things or several bad things throughout their lives, but should it cancel out the good things they may have done too? Should it be permanent brands on their soul, a scarlet letter that they carry for life? People make mistakes, but depending on the severity, those mistakes shouldn't necessarily be held over their heads forever. I do believe that everyone deserves their right to a fair trial." Having said that, the defense has already filed a series of motions to try and first get rid of the death penalty and limit victim impact statements for the murder trial. They are filing motions to allow testimony from the defendant's family on the impact of the execution. So they're saying Stefan's family should be able to tell the judge what would happen to their lives if Stefan is executed. However, Maddie's family and friends should not be allowed to testify at all and talk about what Maddie being gone means to them. They also don't like the word murder. They filed a motion to prohibit the reference of the word murder during the trial. They say, "Don't say the victim's murder, the murder scene." The motion reads, "The defense requests that the word homicide be used instead of murder when it comes to witness, particularly law enforcement officer testimony, because the legal term for killing a human being, whether lawfully or unlawfully, is homicide. There is no crime of homicide." So they're saying murder already implies a crime, but he hasn't been convicted of a crime yet. So they need to use the word homicide. Stefan, I believe, also is going to hit them with the PTSD defense. He was hit by a car twice when he was younger, And on his Reddit account, he does a whole rant because he's like on a parenting Reddit thread. And he's like, having a baby doesn't mean that you are the only person in the world who has experienced any sort of excruciating pain. Have you ever been run over by a truck and dragged under the vehicle across the pavement to the point where your flesh is shredded off down to the muscle fibers in several locations? That hurts pretty damn bad too. Ask me how I know. He says, so does shattering your knee. So does a lot of things I'm sure you've never experienced or even contemplated once in your life. Pain is human. Pain is life. Pain is not unique to one person or gender. So let's not get into that sort of pissing contest. In another Reddit thread, he says, I have an absolute boatload of PTSD. And that is where we are at. Jennifer has not been charged with anything. One more thing. Sorry, I know this episode is so long. A lot of netizens have pointed out that it just seems like a lot of people failed in Maddie's life. The school could have called early to let the parents know that Maddie did not attend. They didn't let anybody know. And if they had called Jennifer, maybe she would have been, at least worst case scenario, forced to call the police, because how do you not go looking for your child immediately after? And maybe things could have been discovered quicker. I don't know if that would have changed anything. And then the counselor, she was told that this man in her life, her mother's boyfriend, makes her uncomfortable. Maybe she should have asked more questions. Maybe the other teachers should have asked more questions about why she was having so many sleepy days. It didn't seem normal. Maybe other family members should have asked, even Maddie's biological father. And I'm sure he lives in a different state. It doesn't seem like he's involved in anything. That's not even what I'm implying. But there is definitely a disconnect. And maybe he did everything that was in his capacity that he could have done or felt he could have done. But I just don't think it was enough. Because as for Maddie, in an interview, he says to the officer, I can give you the context if you need, but Maddie reminded me of a character from a show called Euphoria. That is literally a show about high schoolers doing drugs and being oversexualized. And he says, in the sense that there was just an emotional weight about her that I did not understand what the cause was. It just seemed like she was dealing with stuff that a 12-year-old girl shouldn't deal with, but I didn't get to see her enough to really pry. She went from being a silly little girl to a Euphoria character, which Euphoria is a show all about kids who are dealing with crazy levels of trauma. I don't know how to explain it. These young girls have this 1,000-mile look on their faces that I would expect out of Vietnam veterans, not little girls. It just confuses me how so many young girls have that look in their eyes. And then I guess he didn't do anything. One netizen comment reads, Maddie, you deserved adults in your life that loved you and would have put you first. I'm sorry that you had such a rough childhood. I hope you're in a better place now. And with that, that is what's going on with this case. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think there is a whole CCM ring involved, especially with the recent arrest in Central Florida? Do you think that she was pregnant? Do you think that Jennifer Soto knew a lot more? I mean, how much do you think she knew? Did she know after the fact? Did she know during? Did she know before what the plans were? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Be safe, and I'll see you in the next one.